Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to night number 3 of the Supermodified Ultimate Pavement Racing Series Topless 200 Week. You're listening and watching SUPRS Live, and we're so excited that you could be here with us tonight. This is a pretty special event as we're getting ready to go time trialing for the 13th annual Topless 200, the penultimate super modified sim racing race, a 200 lap event coming at you tomorrow night, modeled after the famed Oswego Speedway International Classic 200. That particular race is in its 61st year here in just another week and a half. That race will take place at Oswego Speedway. We're here and we exist to talk to you about real super modified racing and why these cars are the ultimate short track race car. And you're going to be watching them here tonight. If it's your first time tuning in, we're very happy to have you. Let us know you're listening via our Twitch chat or hit us up on Twitter at Supers Online. Well, we've been racing all week, and we kicked things off on Monday night with a 45-lap feature event that Keith put one on you, Powell won. Now, Powell is a defending Topless 200 pole sitter, and Keith won on Monday night in a non-wing show. And then last night, Kyle Clark picked up the win in the SUPRS Nationals Wing 50 event. That was an Empire State Super Series regional tour race, a barn burner of a show. If you go to our Twitch page, you can see the full unedited feature event, and I'm going to tell you something, you're not going to be disappointed. That was a wild race. 35 of the 50 laps were green flag, had 2 cautions total during the race, and had a 5-lap shootout to the finish. And Clark was able to hold on for the win. So that was a very, very exciting deal. Now tonight, as we said, we're time trialing, and only the top 2 drivers will be guaranteed into the race. They will be locked into the front row and will start straight up based on their times here tonight at Oswego Speedway. There are 2 guaranteed starters by virtue of guaranteed starter races run during the season. The first one was the Jim Champagne Memorial back in May, and the winner of that was our 2017 Goldcrest Non-Wing Super Modified champion, Rob Warren. And our most recent guaranteed starter is Dominic Gioia, winner of the Whistler Pete Trinka Memorial here just 2 weeks ago. And so those guys are guaranteed starters. Now, if they don't time trial into the front row, they will be eligible to take their guaranteed starting spot. They'll line up according to their time trial straight up. If they have to take their guaranteed spot, they have to be within a half second of the slowest car, and they'll be able to take that guaranteed starting position. Now, the track record that everybody is shooting for here tonight is a 16.192, 16.192 seconds on this fast 5/8 mile oval based out of New York's upstate New York. Rob Warren is the track record holder, and he just set that on August 2nd. So we'll be calling off the times as the drivers are on the track. We'll be looking at their sector times as well to see how they're tracking. You know, kind of like the weatherman talks about storms tracking. We talk about race cars tracking around the track in their sectors. So we'll be talking about that, and then we're also going to be letting you know from the driver's perspective how they feel after their time trial run. We'll be pulling the drivers in, so you'll want to stick around through the event as well afterwards to listen to our front row qualifiers, especially to see what they learned through time trials that maybe they can put towards their 200 lap race tomorrow night. Again, coming up tomorrow night, the 13th annual Topless 200. Why is it called the Topless 200? Well, we take the tops off. We call the tops, it's kind of a fun twist, but a lot of times throughout the country, the Super Modifieds run wings on top, like the World of Outlaws sprint cars or the All-Star sprint cars or the Empire State sprint cars or the Patriot Sprint Series. And at Oswego Speedway, it's the only track in the country that races non-wing Super Modifieds on a regular basis and has been that way for many, many years, dating back to the 60s. When drivers from Michigan used to come to upstate New York because the purses were so good. They had wings on the cars, and the owner at the time, Harry Caruso, said, take the wings off. They're too fast. We don't like them. We're going to run without wings. So that's how they became non-wing Super Modifieds, where the rest of the country in New England or Ohio or out in Colorado and Idaho and in California, these small pockets of Super Modified racing, they all run with wings. Tonight, The drivers be using 468 cubic inch big block Chevrolet engines, capable of up to 900 horsepower in the real race car. And these cars are offset 18 inches to the left. You'll be able to see that as you watch the broadcast. And that's what makes these cars the ultimate short track race cars. Sprint cars on pavement, sometimes faster, a lot of times faster, and they're the fastest short track race cars. But when it comes to the ultimate short track race car for cornering speeds and all around top end speeds, the Super Modified sure gets it done. And we're going to try to get it done for you here tonight. But before we do that, we're going to talk a little bit about a special announcement that we have courtesy of the Icings on Top company and Keith Powell and Cindy Powell. And we're so excited to make a special announcement tonight based upon the real Super Modified Triple Crown. The SUPRS, Super Modified Ultimate Pavement Racing Series, has had a Super Modified Triple Crown since 2008. That's 3 big races that are modeled after the real Super Modified Triple Crown, and that includes the race coming up that we just talked about, the International Classic 200, and also the High Miler Super Modified Nationals 100-lap race in Sandusky, Ohio, and the Star Classic 200. That's a 200-lap race on a tight quarter-mile track. That makes up the real Super Modified Triple Crown. Well, our Super Modified Triple Crown is a little bit different. We have the 200-lap race here, the Topless 200, which we'll be qualifying for tonight. We have the All-Star Classic 200, and we call it the All-Star because only 8 drivers are eligible to run that race. They're invited based on their times and throughout the season. And then we have the Summit Classic 125. That's one of our oldest races since 2004. We've been doing this, and that's one of our oldest races, and that is run at Madera Speedway, which is the home of the West Coast Super Modified. So we like to spread out the love and bring recognition to all Super Modifieds across the entire country. So our Super Modified Triple Crown is that. We've got a special announcement from Icings on Top. Let's bring Keith Powell into the booth right now. And Keith is a defending pole winner of the Topless 200 and has a championship in his honor here in the non-wing division. Last year he was the champion in the non-wing division. Second this year, won on Monday, has 4 wins in this 14-race season. He knows how to get a non-wing Super Modified around, and he knows all about the real Super Modified Triple Crown. But first of all, Keith, let's talk a little bit about your background in Super Modified racing. And, you know, fans, we're not just online sim racers or gamers. A lot of the guys like Keith Powell have worked on Super Modifieds their whole life. Some of them have even raced it or been fans or been involved as officials. But Keith, let's talk a little bit about your background real quick in Super Modified racing.
Hey, thank you, Bobby. It started a long time ago. Jim Mayfield being my dad, I was working on a race car. Whatever age, Mom finally let me in the garage in the backyard. I think that's maybe 8 years old or 9 years old, and she finally let me go out there. And then I've been part of it ever since. Worked on the famed 41 out of Sandusky Speedway through the 80s and 90s, and then 2000. Me and my dad, Jim Mayfield, kind of joined forces with the May Racing team that bought a couple of the old Didero cars, and we ran those in MSA and ISMA for many years. Went up to Classic a couple times. We had, I think, 2 years we qualified for the Classic. Went up there for the winged portion of the weekend a couple times. And didn't do too bad up there, but yeah, growing up, especially back in the 80s and the 90s, when Sandusky kind of ran a weekly show. We didn't have MSA back then. We go to 1 or 2 ISMA shows, but for the most part, we ran every Saturday at Sandusky. But come September, every year, we all look forward to taking the tops off, going up to New York and try to prove that we're no slouches down Ohio either, and for the most part it was just a struggle to make the show back then. I mean, back then you get 50, 60 cars in the pits, and you would qualify through, then you try heat, and then you try last chance, and then the last chance, The 41 made the show, I think, 4 times, and the Maze 77 made the show, I think, twice. But that was really the only time we went up to New York without a wing. But it was always, it's a big, big deal. It's something really special if you can make that show up there.
This is something special, what we're doing here this week with the Topless 200, modeled after the International Classic 200, which you just talked about. And your wife, Cindy, through Icings on Top, has been pretty involved here with Supers recently, since you've come back racing, and sponsor of the Icings on Top Supers Rookie of the Year Award, and always sponsored awards for the top 3 in points, with some great looking mugs and rocks glasses that are engraved by hand. But you've got a special announcement tonight. Before we do that, let's talk a little bit about Icings on Top. If you've got Cindy there, we'd love to hear from her and hear what Icings on Top is for nobody that knows.
Yeah, I got Cindy here. I'll turn it over to my sponsor here, Icings on Top. She sounds a lot better than I do.
Hi, Bobby.
Hi, Cindy. We're glad you could join us here tonight for Supers Live, and we're excited to make an announcement. But before we do that, real quick, what is Icings on Top, and how did it come about?
Icings on Top is a company that I started few years back, doing cake artistry and cake decorating, special occasion cakes, the carving of the cakes, the wild and crazy cakes you see. That's what I do.
I mean, can the cake boss even hold a candle to Icings on Top?
I'd like to think not, but yeah, he's actually definitely an inspiration to me.
And so, Cindy, for people that would like to get one of your cakes, if they're in the area, how can they go about doing that?
They can either contact me on through my email. I have icingsontop@yahoo.com. On Facebook, I'm Cindy Morgan Powell, or Icings on Top. I have a specific Facebook page. And also on Instagram, I'm aka.cakelady.
Well, Icings on Top is a place to get your cake, folks. And what better way to do it than to support a company that supports Supermodified racing and Supermodified sim racing. Cindy, tonight, I think it's time we put the icing, so to speak, on a pretty big deal that you and Keith and Icings on Top are making an announcement tonight with sponsorship of the Supers Triple Crown. The floor is yours. Tell us what you want to do.
Thank you, Bobby. First of all, I'd like to thank you and the Supers organization for allowing Icings on Top to continue to be a sponsor of the best online racing league. Icings on Top has the honor again of supplying some of the awards for the non-wing season. I would like to take this time to congratulate Rob Warren for winning the Supers non-wing championship, and Nelson Rodriguez for receiving the Icings on Top Supers Rookie of the Year award. As the season closes, I do look forward to seeing who will round out the podium finishes. This year and going forward, Icings on Top is proud to announce the Triple Crown Award. The driver who wins all of the 3 races in the same year will receive the Triple Crown Award. Those races will include the All-Star Classic 200, the Summit Classic 125, and the Topless 200, which that one is in the non-wing season. With that being the case, Rob Warren will have the opportunity to win the first ever Triple Crown Award if he wins the Topless 200. Again, Icings on Top would like to thank you for your support and enjoy and good luck the rest of the non-wing season.
What a fantastic deal! And if we had, if you could hear everybody that's listening right now, put your hands together for Icings on Top and Keith and Cindy Powell, sponsorship of the Supers Triple Crown Award, the Icings on Top Rookie of the Year, Supers Rookie of the Year Award as well. Icings on Top, specialty cakes for all occasions. You want to make sure you check it out on Facebook at Icings on Top, or Icings on Top at Yahoo. If you need a cake made, it's your place to go get a cake. aka .cakelady on Instagram. Cindy, I can't thank you enough for all that you've done for Supers, and we appreciate the support through your channels on social media. You talk about sponsor activation. Well, we certainly got it with Icings on Top. You talking about Supers as much as we talk about you. And thank you so much, Cindy. We really appreciate your generosity to the Super Modified Ultimate Pavement Racing League.
Thank you, Bobby, and you're welcome. And you guys, good luck tonight.
Well, how about that, folks? A new award for Supers, and you know we don't give out cash. We don't give out cash awards because we don't think that's what this is about. It's about raising money for injured Super Modified drivers. It's about having a good family-oriented time. One of the cleanest leagues that you're going to ever find when it comes to language and actions and attitudes. And this award will certainly go a long way in promoting what Supers does and why we do it. So what a big deal that is. Well, we got another big deal coming up, and it's called time trials. And while it's just a few laps on the track, it's all about going fast and trying to set on the front row. And when you look back at the history of the Supers Topless 200, it's been pretty storied when it comes to the pole winners. And last year, as we said, Keith Powell was the pole winner with a time of 16.681. Now, take that into consideration, folks, when we just told you that the new track record is a 16.192. Now, that's not the all-time fastest track record. Believe it or not, the all-time fastest lap ever turned to set on the pole for the Topless 200 was set in 2013 by Ray Sand Jr., and then again in 2014 by Miles Maxson. How's that possible, you say? They set identical times. 16.056 is the all-time track record for the front row on the pole, to be on the pole of the Topless 200. Ray Sand Jr. and Miles Maxson did it back-to-back in 2013 and 2014. And then you look at Jeff Weber, who's not here tonight, but had a great finish last night, and a 16.098 is another great run. So while a 16.192 is cooking here at Oswego, it's not the all-time track record. You look down through the list of former winners of the pole here for the Topless 200. Jim Crannell set on the pole for the first one in 2005. Miles Maxson was set on the pole for the first time in 2006, and then Tom Hevron. Some of you may recognize that name. The Hevron name, of course, synonymous with real Super Modified racing. In fact, Doug Hevron, one of the real Super Modified Triple Crown winners. Tom Hevron is his brother, and he raced with us, as well as Doug, down through the years. Buddy Cottom set on the pole in 2008, Junior Radcliffe in 2009, and then Ray Sand Jr. won the first of 3 poles in 2010. He did it again in 12 and 13, as we said earlier. Jeff Weber was on the pole in 2011, and then Maxson in 14 was his second pole. Chris Myers on the pole in 2015, our first R-Factor race for the Topless 200, and Keith Powell last year was your pole winners. Now, when you look at guys that have set on the front row, nobody's done it more than Joe Oxett. And Joe unable to time trial here tonight. He'll be starting at the tail of his heat tomorrow night, but he was on the outside of row 1 in 2015. Ray Sand Jr. tied with Joe Oxett for most front row starts. And of the current drivers running, only Keith Powell and Joe Oxett have started on the front row. Gary Waldron, we expect that he'll be here tomorrow night. He won't have a shot at the front row tonight because it's the only night that you can do it. But Gary Waldron sat on the front row in 2005 for this prestigious Super Modified Sim race. So there's a little bit of history of the Topless 200. And it's time now to get the stage set for the drivers as we get ready to go with the 13th annual Topless 200 here tonight. There are points on the line, so it's one thing to keep an eye out for as we go through the night. The guys will be looking for track record points as well as fast times. So keep an eye out, and of course this will be an important night for starting positions. If you don't make the front row, starting positions for the heat race. So we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We're going to come right back and go right into time trials. You're enjoying Supers Live here on Twitch and Supers Live on supers.net.